Hello, welcome to Be a Light with Mushan podcast. Over the years and through many organizations, platforms, I have met many inspirational individuals. Today, I have a special guest. I met her through Toastmasters a few years ago. She is a very passionate public speaker and also a trainer and coach. And what she impressed me the most is she has this generosity and passion to share her wisdom and insights to inspire others to be the better version of themselves. So let's welcome my guest today, Amy Lemire. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, Wusheng, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. Since we have met, I remember you gave great presentations at one of our District 30 Toastmasters annual conference. And then you left such strong impression in me. We connected. I did the habit finder. I believe you shared that. I thought it's very helpful. Hopefully later after this video, I can share that with our audience too. And tell us a little bit about your journey, how you ended in a public speaker field.
Sure, that's a great question. It's an interesting story. I became a public speaker and fell in love with presenting way back in 2008. And it all started from actually an experience where I faced my fear of public speaking. I was in corporate sales at the time, and I was going to deliver an introduction for a presentation that my team was going to give to a board executive group of hospital directors at a 6-hospital health system in Chicago. And as I stood up to give the introduction, I froze. I couldn't remember what I was supposed to say. I was nervous. I was completely felt like blacked out. And as I sat down, I looked across the room and I saw my boss, the director of sales, and he crossed his arms, and I knew that I blew it. And I was angry, I was humiliated, but I was also excited and inspired because I made a decision in that moment that it was time to become a speaker and get better and not be nervous about speaking. So I joined a Toastmasters club the next day, and that's how I started.
Yeah, that's great. So do you remember, did you participate in any contests? Just out of
Yes,
curiosity.
I did participate. I participated in all the club contests I was in at my club, and then I did participate in the division a couple times. I did, my favorite part of the Toastmasters meeting was the evaluation. So I won the Northwest Division contest, and I competed one year, another year, and I didn't place for it, but it was a great experience and I learned a lot from it.
I agree. I believe most Toastmasters got into this platform and utilize it to challenge themselves. I think participating in those contests is a great way. So afterwards, I believe you gave hundreds and thousands of presentations or speeches. Is there a particular one that left the non impact on your success of your journey?
There's so many different talks I've given that I feel have been impactful, and I don't want to say just for the audience, but really for myself. I think probably one of the biggest ones was when I was asked to give the keynote at the Chicago District 30 Toastmasters conference, and it was during the pandemic, so we were all virtual, but it was very enlightening because that's where I started my journey. And even though
Oh,
I had moved from Chicago back to my hometown, St. Louis, I was able to join remotely, and it was a really great experience.
I think that was the time I met you from that
Yes,
conference. Yeah,
yeah.
I loved that. So also you have been a salesperson, as you said, and which was surprising, right? When you were afraid of public speaking, and that's why you were passionate about to teach people to be a better salesperson. So would you like to share a little bit? What are the common challenges actually salespeople face
Yes,
in terms of public speaking or presentation?
that's a great question. I think for me, what really there's a few different mistakes I think that people make, but I think if I look back on my speaking career, I think the first mistake people make is they don't make that decision to become a better speaker and presenter. I sometimes meet people and they'll say, I just don't like speaking or I'm just not good at it. And I think there's so many resources available like Toastmasters. And I think a couple other mistakes people make are they do have a voice and they do have a message that needs to be heard, but for whatever reason, maybe it's a lack of self-confidence, maybe it's feeling self-conscious, people choose not to speak their voice. And I think the third mistake people make is they forget that when we're speaking, people pay attention to three things: the words we say, our voice intonation, and our body language. So I think if we remember that all three of those elements are so important, it's not just what you're saying, but it's all those other pieces as well.
Yeah, totally. And knowing those elements definitely can enhance our performance and delivering our messages.
Right,
Also,
exactly.
also actually before our conversation, I did uh, Amazon because I had this book a while ago, and I thought, oh, did I remember wrong? Because I remember you did have the from zero to speaker hero, and also you have from zero to sales hero. So would you like to share actually some inspiration that for both books, like what drove you to write a book?
Yes, I think the biggest reason that I decided to write the books is that I had a dream and a burning desire to start my own business for a long time. And I went to a seminar, and the speaker that was there talked about how if you are going to be an authority on any topic, whether it's sales or speaking, that you need to write a book about it. So I wrote both of my books is really a way to brand myself as a sales trainer and consultant and also a speaker. And in the process, I think the rule and the lesson I learned is it's not about the goal, it's about who you become in the process. So it was a really great growing experience for me, and I'm really glad I wrote those two books.
That's great. Actually, personally, I was wondering, do I have to write a book to become successful? What's your take on that? Many people have that in mind, I believe.
I think it's there's a lot of ways to answer that question, but I think I know quite a few successful people that have not written a book. I think one of the myths about writing a book is I think sometimes people think if I write a book, that's instantly going to make me famous. And it's just like anything else, it requires promotion, marketing. The main thing I use my book for is I use it like a business card. So when I'm talking to businesses that want to hire a speaker or a sales trainer consultant, then I might send them a copy of my book or reference my book. But I think it's really all in what your goal is for the book, I think is the most important thing to think about.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, since you are the expert definitely in speaking, also in sales. So in your opinion, what kind of qualities a person needs to have to become from a beginner to a hero level of sales or speaker?
Yes, I think the most important thing is to remember that it's a process and that everybody starts in the same place, whether it's you talking about sales or speaking. And I think the most important lesson I learned, especially in sales, is don't quit, because I think a lot of people get into the profession and they find out quickly that there's a lot of rejection. It requires a lot of determination and resilience. And I think sometimes people quit too quickly. My first year in sales, I wanted to quit 6 months into my first year. And a voice inside of me just said, keep going, don't quit. You're going to go places if you stay in sales. And that's where I stayed in my career for 20 years. So I'm glad I did.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's the being a speaker and being a salesperson in common is stay with your fear and overcome it by facing it and stick to it long enough, and then you will succeed.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because public speaking is the same. You need to keep practicing. Actually, now it's my 5th year as a Toastmaster, and as this podcast is one of my programs that to just help myself improve in public speaking. And this is definitely something we need to keep working on it.
Right.
Yeah, there's no end. Yeah,
I agree 100%.
yeah. There's another personal aspect that I learned during our interactions in the past is that you shared your fatal accident when you were young. Would you like to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and how that actually contributed to your life currently you have?
Sure. Yeah. So my story, I actually wrote a keynote speech that I call From Self-Doubt to Determined, The Keys to Self-Confidence. And I share my story in that book that, at age 9, I was almost killed by a drunk driver. It happened outside St. Louis. And what the story was is we were leaving Six Flags, which is, an amusement park.
Mhm.
Someone who'd had too much to drink was on the road and was headed straight at my mom, my, car with a bunch of kids in it, my sisters, my brother, a couple kids from next door where we lived. And as my mom tried to dodge that oncoming vehicle, I got sideswiped. So I got all the impact pretty much.
Mm.
So, I mean, the long story short is that from having gone through, too many reconstructive surgeries to count and years and years and years of cosmetic surgery on my face, what I really came to find out is that confidence is something that is a skill we can all learn. I think, at a young age, I felt like I didn't have confidence because of what I went through, but I began to go to workshop seminars. I read books. My grandmother gave me a book called Determination, the story of Helen Keller. And I really, age 19, started going to a lot of seminars that were all about personal and professional development. And that's where I really saw the light that, it's not what we look like, it's not the color of our skin, it's not what gender we are, what our nationality is. I mean, all of that makes us who we are, but the most important thing is what's on our inside, what's in our heart and soul that really matters the most. And once I figured that out, it really changed my life. And I feel like it's my inspiration to now teach and uplift humanity to be the best version of themselves. And I do that through my consulting, my speaking, and my training that I do today.
Yeah, wow, that's really, really inspirational. And also, it's definitely a great story of resilience. I
Thank
can
you.
imagine how challenging, how difficult you must have to endure when you were young and when you were teenager, especially during that time. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your experience. I hope many of our audience heard the story, also can find hope and value in themselves, within themselves, if something like outside factors you can change.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So talking about resilience, I know many people see the importance of that. Um, that's one of the life experience definitely have. But some people that never experienced this type of difficulties or challenges. And sometimes we do feel like, do people have to experience some challenges to realize the good things in life? is there anything are there any insights you would like to share with the audience who actually have a pretty good life, but sometimes they just don't feel they're good enough?
Yeah, I think sometimes we overlook that really challenge and adversity is opportunity in disguise. I think that challenge and adversity teaches us compassion. It also brings us strength. It brings us wisdom. It gives us a desire to serve people. And I think sometimes what people do is they make a couple mistakes with their thought habits. They either compare themselves to other people and then they don't feel like they're enough, or they have expectations of what their life or their whole being should be, and it's not. And I think those two are probably two of the thought habits that really stop people from their success. So instead of comparing yourself, you can always find what makes you unique and better than other people. And then instead of expectations, you can always appreciate anything that you have. And I think sometimes we don't do that. We just look at what other people have and we forget to have gratitude for what we have every day.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, train ourselves to appreciate things more in life is a great way. And gratitude journal, as people said, that's a great method to train us. And another mentor I interviewed a little while ago, she talked about how to find happiness is through appreciation. Appreciation is the powerful like tool, powerful, just power, just our power, because we all have that. We can just appreciate things. So thank you so much for sharing that. I also realized that you got married not long ago, and your love life and your marriage and are beautiful. And would you like to share a little bit about that? Because many people probably have given up hope to find true love or find love, especially in the later age or later on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that, I've been married before, and I think when my last relationship did not work out and ended, I decided to really take a time out and work on myself, and really to understand and not blame other people for my relationships not working, but really to look at myself and find out what was I doing that was not working in relationships, and how was I contributing to the relationships not working, and doing a lot of that inner work. I think sometimes we have a tendency to say, once I attract the right person or partner, then I'm going to feel great. But what we can do instead is feel great about ourselves first, and then we will attract the right partner. And that's really, if I had to describe what did I do, I did. I faced my demons. I faced the parts of me that weren't very strong. I think one of the biggest challenges people have sometimes is they don't have healthy boundaries in relationships. So they give up power, or they might stay in situations they're not happy in, and it's it's difficult to stay in those places. So I think one of the biggest lessons I learned is that, joy is our birthright, and in order to attract the right person and partner in our lives, we've got to really love ourselves and appreciate ourselves first, and not think that the best way to feel that way is to find somebody else. And I think that's probably one of the mistakes I made over the years, is thinking that to feel better about myself, if I'm with the right person, then I'll feel that. But interestingly, once I felt that I was good on my own and I was okay being single, then I attracted that person, my husband, into my life about 6 months after I got divorced.
Oh, wow. I think that's beautiful. That's a beautiful message and powerful message. Definitely we need to love ourselves and find out our own value and find our own source of happiness and just a satisfaction. And
Yeah.
before you can really attract others and others' opinions or support or love or cherry on the on cake and or icing on cake would be great. Yeah, if you have it. If you don't, you still enjoy your life. That's very powerful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And also, you have been doing trainings and doing coaching. And is there a mission that drive you to do that day after day? And because I know you travel a lot too, this has to have a passion, have some mission to drive you, because being an entrepreneur is challenging because nobody is pushing you, supervising you, right? So what's your mission and passion in this?
Yeah, I mean, the mission and passion, a lot of it I tell in my story from Zero to Sales Hero, but really it started out, I had a really great year in sales, and then the next year I didn't do so well. And what what happened is I was told by my employer that if I didn't start getting better and getting my sales numbers better, I was going to be fired, which quickly got my attention. And I decided to hire a sales coach. And that sales coach worked with me for over 90 days and helped me turn around my numbers, my performance. And when I finally finished that year over 128% of my quota, I really saw the light bulb that coaching not only can change people's careers, it can change people's lives. And I think that was the beginning also of me seeing that my mission, as much as I love being in sales all those years, I really felt like I had a new mission that was to teach, train, and uplift other people. So within about a year of that time, I started moving into the sales training role. So that's probably why I have such a strong conviction about coaching, teaching, and training, because it can change people's lives. And I think it's the one thing that we forget to ask for help when things aren't going well. And me deciding to get help that year not only changed my life and my career, but it actually put me in a whole new direction. So I would just encourage anybody that's listening, if you're not getting the results you want, whether it's in your personal or professional life, your sales life, make sure to get aligned with a coach, because they can change everything with you. And it is a partnership. It's not magic fairy dust. It's not the coach doing all the work. It is definitely work. And the last thing I'll say is that the three words I learned from that coach were attitude, activity, and accountability. So having a positive attitude every day, people buy from who they like and who they trust. Activity, sales is not a spectator sport. I wish it was, but it's not. You've got to do activity each day to make the numbers. And then accountability. I think accountability is what really defined by me as accountability is, what are we doing when people are not watching? Are we really doing the work, or are we not? So that's why I believe in coaching. I think it's very powerful.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's great. I'm taking notes now. You said three things. First, it's a good attitude, right? Then
Yeah, attitude, activity, and accountability.
Yeah, attitude. Okay. Yeah, hope our audience took notes too. I think that,
Yes.
yeah, those are very important for sure, to keep us really stay on top of things, and also to work towards our goals. Well, my podcast, the theme is Be a Light. And the reason, of course, I brought you here, and you touched me personally. And I feel that you have this radiant light that you're willing to share with the world, with the audience. What's your insights in this knowledge sharing in this open space?
So what I would share, as far as one of my favorite things is your mess can become your message. And I think from my life journey, I've come to realize that everything happens for a reason. That reason, it is to serve us, even the tough times, even the setbacks, even the times we want to quit and give up. I think all of those events happen to make us only stronger and more determined and courageous. I think that, as I mentioned somewhat earlier, I think our biggest challenge is I think it's our lack of self-confidence, and I think we give up too soon. And so I think that being determined and resilient, it is a daily activity. It's not something, there are days I wake up and I don't feel that way. And I have my own morning ritual that I do to get myself in the right frame of mind. But just remember that it is a daily commitment. It takes daily work. It's not one and done, and one day we wake up and we're confident, determined, and courageous. It does take a daily focus, and it's it's a life commitment, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any practical ways to form a good habit that you have? For example, yeah, we all do have those experiences that we don't want to do anything, want to just lay back and or stop or quit. So do you have any practical methods you use to overcome those moments?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would recommend to the audience is you know, you can take my online assessment that shows where you stand with your personal habits, and it's 6 key habits of thinking. But I think the first thing I would invite you to all to consider is number 1, know where your strengths are and then know where your areas of opportunity are. And I think as far as how to stay with great habits is be a student. Yeah, there's a lot of books out there about habits. I think a lot of people have read James Clear Atomic Habits. That's a great book I always recommend. But I think really habits are what we do day in and day out, and it takes 30 days to build a habit. And another great book I recommend to my clients is called The Greatest Salesman in the World, by Og Mandino. In the back of that book, there's 10 scrolls, and each scroll talks about a certain life habit that you can read, you know, and I won't say them all right now, but you can read that book and go to the back of the book and see what those are, because each of those 10 scrolls is all about a certain habit to adopt. So acting in spite of your emotions, being persistent, taking action. I mean, those are just some examples, but to me, it's about really reading and really studying this work each day.
Yeah, those are great. And by the way, I bought this great salesman because of your recommendation. I think those are great uh, advice that we can definitely borrow and learn from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So at our end, it's close to our end of our interview. Are there any big advice that you would like our audience to take away from this interview?
Yes, I think one of my closing thoughts would be this saying that I have on my wall. It's a plaque and it says, "Be yourself. It's the easiest person to be and everyone is taken." So, my takeaway from that is to be yourself, embrace your genius, do what you love doing. These are really the keys to having daily happiness and joy in your life and fulfillment, and live your life for yourself and nobody else. You enter the world alone, you leave the world alone, and what happens between then, those 2 times, it's really up to us to live our life how we wanna live it. So, choose to be happy, choose to surround yourself with positive, like-minded people, and as I said, probably 3rd time now, never quit. Vow that you will not quit no matter what you do.
Yeah, those are very powerful messages. And actually, this hit me too because recently a friend of mine shared some tragic news. Her step brother took his own life. So I
Sorry.
wish more people really listen to your message and love themselves more and really stay healthy and have a good habit and to cope with any of those challenges and also difficult times, also being surrounded with positive people. Yeah.
Yes,
Going to
absolutely.
seminars, going to seminars
Yes, be
probably
a student,
help.
be a
Yeah,
student. A
be a
student is a
student.
great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for such wonderful insights and knowledge and wisdom with me and also our audience. And I will share your contact info and your LinkedIn in our comments. And thank you again for being on my show, Amy.
Thank you, Musheng. It was so nice to be with you today. I loved our conversation, and thank you for inviting me to be your guest.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.